Hi, and welcome to Canine Overland Podcast, the podcast all about adventuring with your doggos and overlanding. I'm Johnny, known as Canine Overland on Instagram.
And I'm Kat. I am the Canine Explorers on Instagram.
And this is episode number 3.
So thank you guys for sticking around and listening to our first 2 episodes. I don't know if you've noticed, we were really nervous, even though we talk a lot, but that's because we were nervous. A lot of you guys gave us some good feedback and compliments and everything, so thank you for that. Honestly, we wouldn't have started this podcast without your guys' support. Hopefully, these podcasts are entertaining. Maybe it could give you some insight on our lifestyle and what we do and everything, and hopefully it'll help you out in some way. So yeah, this episode today is going to be about our puppies and how we came to having 4. But before we get started, I just want to make a small announcement that we started a coffee page. Coffee is ko-fi.com. It's kind of like Patreon, but there's no like hidden fees or anything. It's just pure donations, or you can just send us a one-time donation for coffee. Me and Johnny love coffee, even though you don't see us drinking it all the time, but we do enjoy a cup of coffee now and then. Johnny actually used to work at Starbucks, so his love for coffee came from working at Starbucks. And long time ago, I used to work at Coffee Bean, so that's where my love for coffee started, at Coffee Bean. I was like 19 years old, so I made a lot of coffee, and it was really fun. So yeah, if you guys want to continue to support us in any way, you can send us a coffee on coffee.com. That's ko-fi.com/Canine Overland. This link is also on my links tree, which is on my bio on Instagram, and then also on Canine Overland Podcast Instagram. There's a link there, or you can find it on our YouTube. It's listed everywhere, but if you can't find it, definitely reach out to us and we can send you the link. So yeah, thank you again for sticking around to our 3rd episode, and I hope you enjoy.
Bear with us a little bit. One of our mic is down, so we're just using one mic and passing it back and forth for now. Kat, so how did we come about having 4 dogs?
It's crazy that you say that, because 4 dogs to me mean nothing now, but like maybe 10 years ago, 4 dogs sounds like a lot. My first dog ever, well, let's backtrack before that. So growing up, like as a child, like I loved dogs. I don't know where my love for dogs came from. Like none of my family members had dogs. I never really played with neighborhood dogs. I just loved dogs. So maybe middle school, maybe elementary school, where we had like those magazine subscriptions and stuff. The only magazine I wanted to get was Dog Fancy. And back then, like that was like the dog magazine. And first, like I wanted to get it because of all the cute pictures and stuff. So I signed up for the subscription so I can get my points, but obviously like I was the only one that bought a subscription for myself. So I never won any prizes, but I ended up collecting all these Dog Fancy magazines every month. Every month would be like a new breed on the cover. So that's how I learned about dogs and like different breeds and everything. And I would go to like all the articles about the breed inside the magazine and read all that stuff, and then see all these cool ads and everything. And then like when we're out and about with my family, if I saw a dog on the street or something, I would always point out like, look, doggy. And then I would like name off the breed. Like who can do that at like age 5, you know? Not 5, maybe like 5th grade. But like I was... Sorry, we have the pups hanging out with us, and they're barking at the critters that are around our campsite. Bunch of birds and squirrels and stuff. Anyway, so I thought I was pretty cool, knowing a lot about dogs at my age, a lot more than the other kids. So that's where my love for dogs grew. So I ended up getting my first dog when I was, I don't know, maybe like 6 years old, 7 years old. And he was a min pin named Spike, and he was basically our family dog. when we first brought him home. Like, he was intended for me, but he ended up being the family dog. His name actually came from Rugrats, because I loved watching Rugrats growing up. But we kind of had like a little like voting contest between me and my brother. And my older brother, he was into like playing games and stuff, and like he was really 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 into like Mario Kart and all that. So he wanted to name him Yoshi, which would have been cool too. But I mean, now that I think back at having Spike, like Spike fit his name. Like he was like the littlest. He was a 10-pound min pin, and like he looked like Goomba but fat. So his name Spike, I feel like just fits, because Spike on Rugrats was kind of like a nuisance, but like he loved the kids, and like he would always like play with the kids and stuff. So that's basically Spike. He wasn't trained at all, but he was there for our family. Like he happened to like give us love and affection that, you know, having my first dog, it was like it completed me pretty much. And then we had him for about 10 years, and when he passed away, it was kind of like a freak accident. So when my dad passed away, we moved into my grandparents' house, so obviously like my dog would come with me and everything. So he ended up being like an outdoor dog. And so one time I wasn't home, like Spike was out in the backyard. He got into like a little quarrel with a possum or a raccoon or something, and my grandma was home, and she heard the nuisance, and she went outside and was trying to break up the fight with a hose, and that didn't work. So she grabbed a broomstick and tried to break up the fight, and that didn't work. So she was trying to whack the raccoon or possum, and she accidentally hit my dog instead, which, I mean, by accident, it sucks, but he ended up being paralyzed from the neck down, so he was rushed to the ER, and then that's when my mom called me, because I was out at my cousin's house, and she called me and said, do you have time to come to the ER right now? Like, Spike got into an accident. And so, like, I dropped everything, and I drove to the ER to see him, and then the vet that was there kind of gave us, like, not the ultimatum, but, like, kind of like the news that, I mean, he was paralyzed from the neck down. Like, he could still live, but it wouldn't be like a good quality of life for him, because he would be not moving. He was laying down. So when I saw him, he was laying down on his side, and his neck was like stretched up all the way, so he couldn't even bend his neck down to look down or anything. So having him live the rest of his life like that wasn't ideal. So we went home that night to kind of like sleep it off. And then the next day, that's when we decided to just put him down. So I was 18 at the time. So I had him for 10 years throughout high school. So he was basically there as I grew up, and he was like my right-hand man, like my best friend during high school. So that like tore me apart. And then, yeah, like for a year, I just couldn't like go on. Like, I kept begging my mom for another dog, because I was like, there's something missing in my life. And I knew for like, I knew 100% it was having the dog, because like I had best friends and stuff too, but they never like fulfilled that void like a dog would, you know, because they don't talk back and like they don't have opinions. They just kind of like they just do whatever you want them to do. Yeah, so that's where Charlie came. So Charlie was basically a gift from my mom to kind of like help me move on past Spike, and Charlie became like my actual like responsibility, like full responsibility dog, not a family dog. So I took him as my own. The first thing I did was buy him a little sweater, and then took him to the vet to get his puppy shots and everything. So yeah, Charlie's my first dog. I had him for maybe a few months before I met you. And so when I met you, we can talk about this another day, but this is our close friends know the story, and it's kind of funny. But anyway, when I met you, when I met Johnny, yeah, like we didn't really date right off the bat. We just kind of talked back and forth through text and everything, got to know each other. And then when we did get together, yeah, we were hanging out and stuff. And Johnny had a cat at the time, but he's never had a dog. And even though Charlie was in our life, like Charlie was mine, like Johnny never really took in Charlie as his own until we got another dog, which was Yuki, our husky. So we were maybe dating about a year and a half, maybe 2. Yeah, and so I felt like at that point in our relationship, it was like a good time to like bring in an animal that we both can take care of. You know, not you taking care of your cat and then me taking care of my dog. It was like a joint custody type thing. So I surprised Johnny on Valentine's Day with the husky. I fell in love with the husky because one of our friends at the time had a husky named Stella, and she was really cute and she was really fluffy and all that. And from our friend, like we heard that she was like a wild child, so we were ready, you know, to take on a wild child. And I've been reading about like huskies and stuff, so I thought we were ready for a husky. But yeah, so when we took her home, like we crate trained her and all that good stuff, she ended up being a really good dog. She broke out of the crate a couple times, which is normal for a husky. So funny story. One time we left her in the crate. We only left for like 40 minutes from home to get food. And then when we came home, she was out roaming free. She got into our trash can. And then what did we find in the bathroom?
She got into our trash. She even opened up one of our kitchen drawer and dragged out some coffee maker stuff and chewed it. But I guess the main thing why she broke out of the crate was she really needed to poop. So when we came home, we found poop in our bathtub. Like she literally broke out of her crate just to poop, and then after that, she's like, "Oh, I can roam free now," and just like terrorize the house and just explore and chew things. But other than that, she wasn't hyper like any other huskies that we've known. She was more mellow. Like she takes care of herself like a cat almost.
Yeah, so to our surprise, when we got home, there was pee and poop actually in the bathtub. I remember because we were like, I looked at you and I was like, did she just break out because she really needed to pee? Like we did everything before we left, like walked her and all that. But yeah, she's really smart. She was really smart and she broke out, and then she didn't really terrorize the whole house like she could have. Like it could have gotten really bad. But I just remember a little bit of trash like on the floor, and like the trash can was knocked over. Yuki was actually a really good husky. She wasn't crazy. She didn't really howl. I do have an old video of her barking at me because she heard your car coming home through the window, which I like. It was such a huge surprise to me because I finally heard her voice, and it was like the cutest thing ever. But yeah, she wasn't a nuisance. She was pretty easy to train, but we didn't have her long enough to actually train her like fully the way I wanted to. Yeah, so Yuki wasn't a bad dog. She was just, you know, typical husky. She had a lot of energy. She needed to exercise a lot, be let out a lot, needed a lot of attention and everything, which we gave her. You know, I was in college. I had a little flexibility in my schedule. And Johnny was working, so he had a little flexibility in his schedule after work. So we kind of like took turns taking care of her. Like Johnny would have his typical 9 to 5, but I had restaurant work. So my restaurant work is obviously like in the evenings and stuff. So yeah, it was kind of a shared custody type thing. Like Yuki was living with Johnny at the time, and then I would go over to his house and take care of Yuki and hang out there before I had to go to class or go to work. And then having Yuki, like we felt like we wanted to take it up a notch and get an apartment together. Yeah, we got an apartment together and everything. I feel like Yuki kind of like maybe guided us into the direction of our relationship in a sense, because we took care of something together. Maybe if we didn't have Yuki, maybe I would still be living at home, you know, and we would just be dating. Like we wouldn't really be this not typical, but like the relationship we have now wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for Yuki, because Charlie wasn't really like a thing for you. He was just my dog because I obviously had him before you. The story with Yuki, we ended up having to move home to my mom's house actually to save a little bit of money. And when we did, Yuki and Charlie came with us obviously. And just one day, my mom's friend was over and left the front door open, and Yuki ran out and got hit by a car, and that was very traumatizing for me. I've went through loss before. I lost my first dog. I lost my dad. So I mean, I kind of knew how to deal with something like that, but obviously like I was bawling my eyes out. I saw everything. I ran after her out the door trying to grab her real quick because my mom's house is on a busy street. So I mean, there wasn't really nothing nothing else I could have done. I couldn't have turned around and run the opposite direction because she was already feet away from the road. And then that road was like a 45 mile per hour zone. So any impact from a car at that mileage would have done some damage. So yeah, I saw everything. Luckily, the car didn't hit me because I wasn't even thinking. I didn't look left or right. I just ran, but I was too late. And I just grabbed her and just ran over to the curb to just like lay on the grass there. And I held her. And then 2 seconds later, she was just bloodshot with her eyes, and her eyes were bulging out. And then her heart stopped. So it was very, very fast and instant. I hope she didn't feel a lot of pain, but it was pretty bad. There was no way of saving her, even if I called emergency. Goomba. Even if I called the emergency to even come, animal control did end up coming because some Good Samaritan called for me because I was just out of it. Like I was just holding her and I was crying, and then the first thing I thought of to do was to call you, and you were at work. And I remember calling you that day, and you were like, "Huh? What?" Like it didn't register. I had to because obviously me crying, you can't understand me. But that was your first experience with loss. So I can only imagine how terrible you felt. Do you want to go over how you felt? Because I know you're not really open with your feelings, but I'd like to know how you felt that day. Now that it's been years, and then now we're thinking about that day, we don't really think about it a lot. We do miss Yuki a lot because she was an awesome dog, and there's a lot of things that we always say out loud that we wish we could have done with Yuki. Her actual name was Yukiona, her full name, which is like Snow Princess or something in Japanese. I just found it on Google. But anyway, yeah, do you want to talk about how you felt? Do you feel man enough to do that? Are you going to cry? He said a little bit. Okay, here.
I mean, Yuki was my first dog. When Kat called me when I was at work, I really didn't understand what was going on because she was telling me that, oh, Yuki got hit. And then she went on saying that she's not breathing, just standing there outside at work. Wait, what? Calm down. Tell me what happened. And then Kat was saying that, oh, she got hit and Yuki's dead. I immediately started crying, like, what? So I came back inside. I told my manager that I had to leave work. Yuki got hit. I need to go right now. So she let me off work, and I was just driving home super fast. I was going at least 110, down to 55. The minute when I pulled up to the driveway, her mom's friend was saying, "Hey, Kat's out there outside in the front. She's not doing well." And so I closed the front door on him, and then I walked over to Kat, and I saw Yuki just laying there, lifeless, not moving at all. I just broke down. Sorry. I mean, I still miss her a lot.
I didn't mean to open a can of worms.
I know. She was my first dog. She was the best. It's like I hated my work and everything, but every time I came home from work, she's always there greeting me and everything. So, yeah. I don't know what else to say.
I didn't expect Johnny to actually cry because we actually haven't really talked about Yuki. But I mean, this podcast has gotten us to communicate with each other a little bit more on a deeper level because it's just us two. And yeah, Yuki was actually a really good dog, and she kept us together pretty much. And she basically made our lives better. People who don't have dogs just don't know and won't understand that they are family. Losing a family member like that is very tough, and it's never easy. But I don't cry as much about it. I mean, now I started crying because I saw you crying. But having dealt with family loss even before that, I don't want to say it made it easier, but I've learned how to cope and like kind of like maneuver my feelings around to just, suppress it a little bit, deal with it later, and then focus on what I'm doing right now. So like talking on this podcast, like, I'm not going to sit here and bawl my eyes out thinking about it. I'll cry later about it. But yeah, anyway, so after Yuki, we got her cremated. We got her in a cute little box at home, and we have a photo next to her box, and we see it every day. It's sitting in our office next to our computer. So she's still with us. I have her tattooed on my arm too. So people who've met me in real life maybe have seen it already. So she's actually the only dog on my arm. I haven't even got Spike on my arm or anything. I've thought about getting him tattooed, but because Spike was a family dog and I was so young at the time, we didn't really have like cell phones with like pictures and stuff. So I only have 2 photos of him, one as a puppy, which is really blurry, and then one of him as an adult, but the adult picture of him is kind of ugly. Like he had a tiny little head and a big fat body. So I don't want that tattooed on me, but hopefully one of these days I get that puppy photo tattooed on me, but it's blurry. So I don't know if a tattoo artist can do it, but who knows? We'll see. But he's definitely going to go on my arm, and then definitely our 4 dogs right now. So yeah, so after that incident, we moved out of my mom's house. We just didn't want to live there anymore. It was just bad memories, bad juju, because we were living there before my dad passed away. So when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, we were living in that house. So to me, that house was just bad juju all around. We've dealt with like dead mice, and like we had a dead bird on our front porch once at that house. And then we had an injured like raven or crow come to that house. So like all those signs were just telling me like, get out of there. But if you're not spiritual like I am and don't believe in all that stuff, it kind of makes sense to have all that wildlife around there, because my mom lives across the street from the Back Bay, which is like a huge like acreage of nature preserve, and we get a lot of wildlife and stuff out there. But yeah, we weren't happy living there, not because of like living with family is terrible, but it's just bad energy, seeing so many deaths in one house. Like, how many more deaths do I need to see before I need to move out? We ended up getting another apartment together, which we still live in now. My memory is getting all jumbled up. Okay, so just kidding. So yeah, after Yuki, we got an apartment together because we just couldn't handle living there. And then obviously packing up Yuki with us, we got a really nice apartment, two-story apartment. 2-bedroom, like we had a cute little deck for our backyard. It had a creek running through it with ducks and everything. I actually liked that apartment a lot. And then we moved in your mom because your mom was living alone. And I mean, living with any parent is difficult for anybody, but I didn't mind having your mom there because your mom loved Charlie so much. Like Charlie even loved your mom. Like Charlie wouldn't come to me when we got home from work or school. Like he would be sitting at the end of your mom's bed. And like he would sleep with your mom at night, which was good too, because your mom was home early from work, and then she needed a companion like that. I liked seeing Charlie like get to know your mom and stuff. Yeah, something about Charlie though. Ever since I had him, like I brought him everywhere, so he was very well socialized. Like he loved people. He loved other dogs. Like he got along well with everybody. So yeah, if you've ever seen Charlie in real life too, like he's like the sweetest Yorkie. I've seen some pretty nasty Yorkies, like not as cool as Charlie, to be honest. And he's not the typical Yorkie, and he's really cute too. So yeah, I'm not biased or anything just because he's mine. He really is the cutest. Should we take a break and maybe make some announcements?
So here's a little break time here. If you guys want to support us, you can hit up Ko-fi, so that's ko-fi.com/K9 Overland. I mean, anything helps us keep this channel alive, because we're doing this for YouTube, Instagram, podcasts, and then to see more of our content and everything, because we're actually going to be releasing like exclusive content on there instead of like regular videos on YouTube. The videos that we're going to be releasing on Ko-fi will be like, it'll have GPS tracks. It'll have coordinates to where we're camping at. Like most of the places that we actually find when we're going off-roading. yeah, it's just like more details, gas stations, food, what to see, and then we're gonna do a lot of gear reviews on there from our sponsors and people that we work with, and yeah, it would help us out a lot. I mean, it'll help us keep this going. We do enjoy doing this for everybody too. So, all right, so back to our program. Where do we left off at?
Yeah, so back to story time. We were talking about like Charlie and how we became a 4-dog parent. I left off saying how Charlie was very well socialized and everything. So anyway, at that apartment with your mom, like I can tell like having another dog would be really awesome. And we weren't really looking, but it came out of nowhere. One of my friends knew someone that was giving away puppies and asked me if I wanted one. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Like, we had a second dog once. Like, let's do it. Let's do it. I didn't even ask what kind of dog it was. So we went to their house, picked up the puppy. I grabbed a female because I didn't want a male. I wanted a female because Yuki was a female and she was really easy to take care of. So having a female would be ideal for Charlie. And I didn't know they were Chihuahuas, but I mean, I grabbed the black and tan one because it reminded me of Spike a little bit, but she ended up having a little bit of fluff around her ears. She looked like a mushroom, like the cutest little fluffy mushroom, and that's how she got her name Goomba from Mario. Goomba is the villain, the mushroom villain from Mario. So I brought Goomba home again around Valentine's Day. Which it just so happened that way, but I mean that's a sign, you know. We got Yuki around Valentine's Day. Her birthday was New Year's Day, so and Goomba came around Valentine's Day, so I assume her birthday was around New Year's Day too, maybe December. But we still used February 14th as her gotcha day. Yeah, so Goomba took to Johnny like instantly. Like she was so little and she fit literally in the palm of your hand. Like you can just hold up one hand up and she just sat there in your hand. And the first night we brought her home, she snuggled up in like your neck and then she slept like right by your face on the pillow. And we had Yuki's crate still. So that's how we crate trained Goomba is in Yuki's crate, but she kept breaking out because she was so little. But she never really made accidents. I don't remember her ever making an accident. Charlie and her played a lot and they would wrestle a lot. I remember Goomba trying to like play with his tail a lot and like bite his ears and stuff. So yeah, Goomba and Charlie were together ever since then. Goomba being Chihuahua, I mean, she barked at everything, but so did Charlie. So, like, we didn't mind that. And then fast forward, like, you know, life happens. We got out of that apartment, got a different apartment, brought the littles with us. Yeah, after that first apartment, your mom moved out because your brother needed help. Your brother came back into the picture because he needed help, so him and your mom got an apartment together, and we moved out of that cool apartment. And then we went into a different apartment, ended up not liking that apartment, moved out of that apartment and moved back home again to my mom's house because we needed to save a little money. We didn't realize like living in SoCal is very expensive. So we thought maybe we could save a little bit of money moving back to my mom's, even though like we did have, you know, that feeling of bad juju there. We would just dish it out for a few months. So yeah, anyway, we moved back to my mom's house. Like I was still working here and there at the restaurant. You were working at your job. With my jobs, I ended up having one job. So I quit. I was working like 3 jobs all throughout like college, part-time, and they were all like food industries type stuff. So like their schedule is very flexible. It was easy to kind of maneuver with my classes and everything. But I ended up having only one job when we moved back to my mom's house, which was at 24 Carats. And that was like a cool job. I actually enjoyed that job. People I worked with were cool, except for one, the manager. So I ended up getting laid off from that job. But like right before I got laid off, like we were having issues. And then I thought I wanted to be an artist too, because like I used to draw and doodle a lot. And people would tell me I'm talented and all of that, blah, blah, blah. But art school would have been costly, and then going through all the prereqs for art school was just redundant. Yeah, all that stuff, all the prerequisites for art school was just, how would I sit through a class when I already know how to draw a circle? You know, like, I didn't want to pay money for that, so I was like, I'm not going to go to art school. I'm just going to go to school for business. If I want to change it, I want to change it. But I never really liked school to begin with. Like, I'm not a school person. I'm more of a do it yourself, hands-on, teach myself type of person. So I only went to school because obviously Asian family, like, they expect you to go to college and get a good degree and a good job and blah blah blah. But I ended up just getting a business degree and then never looked back. But here I am now running, you know, my own business and a couple just different side projects. So I ended up getting laid off at that restaurant, that 24 Carats. But luckily I was kind of getting started on WAG and doing dog walking and stuff. So I thought maybe I could just focus on dog walking and maybe like grow that business before looking for another job. It was kind of hard at first because dog walking is not like a high paying job, especially through WAG, because they take 40% of your pay. Like if a dog walk was $20, 40% of that is $12. And then you have to pay taxes on top of that. And then you have to pay for gas. And then you have to pay for everything else. So like all in all, one dog walk would maybe make me like $5 pocketed. And that's not a lot. I would need 100 dogs to make a good living off of that. So it was very tough. And luckily, like for me, like we were living at home. So obviously, like, my mom's not going to kick me out. It helped push me to build my business and to go full-time dog walking. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a business right now, because it was a good year and a half, maybe 2 years, until I got a good, decent amount of clients, recurring clients weekly. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, a dog came up on the app, let's go walk that dog. But if you were like a busy person trying to fill in some extra time, then yeah, as a side thing, make a little extra cash. But as a full-time thing, it was really tough. But yeah, I ended up growing my clientele. Like, I started to make relationships with different clients around our area, and you know, started walking their dogs regularly. And then it got to the point where I had a bunch of dogs like staying over at the house for boarding. Like, they would like. I ended up being like this crazy house sitter with like 10 dogs. My mom went to Temple one weekend, and it was like January of like 2017, maybe 2016, because they're 4 years old this year. Maybe 2017. So I don't know if you guys remember, SoCal residents. I don't know if you guys remember 2017. January was a very wet winter. We had a shit ton of rain that season. And yeah, so my mom at Temple, like one of the monks there kind of said to my mom, because my mom volunteered there a lot, hey, like someone dropped off this box like out front, like in the rain, a cardboard box, and inside the box was 3 puppies. And you know, Buddhists, like, they love all, they accept all. So I mean, luckily, like, that person dumped the box there and not just anywhere. But it was a very wet and cold night that my mom found them. And so she called me. She said, there's puppies here. I don't know what to do. What do I do? And I told her, well, it's Saturday night. Nothing's open. No one's gonna, like, animal control would not take them. It would be your responsibility until the next day. Like, it sucks that, you know, that's how rescue works. But if you don't know like a specific rescue or have contact within anyone in the rescue side of things, like if you find a dog or stray dog, if you don't want to take them, they would just be out on the street until someone decides to take them. So I told my mom, bring them home. I'll deal with it on Sunday or Monday, like, because I kind of knew some friends in that field. So yeah, my mom brought them home, and they were filthy and hungry. So we fed them and we bathed them, and I decided to just keep them overnight because it was already late on Saturday. And then I posted on Facebook the next day, like, does anyone want puppies? Like, I have 3 puppies. And one friend on Facebook was already looking for a dog, Vivian. So she sent me a message and she said, "Hey, we're looking for a puppy. Can I see them?" So yeah, the following day I took the puppies over to her house so she can pick a puppy, and she took one and she named her Yuna, and we still see her every now and then, a couple times, but that left us Lilo and Stitch, so we brought them home. This was on Sunday, the next day. Yeah, so nothing was open on Sunday, not even the rescues. They don't work, and since they're already at our house, like my rescue friend was like, "Oh, just keep them till Monday, and then call the Humane Society or something on Monday." But instead, Monday we brought them to the vet to get them checked out first, because having Lilo at home on Sunday, like we noticed Lilo had a little head tilt, so that's when we decided to take them to the vet instead on Monday instead of the rescue, because we wanted to take them to the vet just to kind of get her checked out, because if we took them to the rescue, we would never know any information after that, and we kind of wanted to know like what was wrong with her, and like, you know, see if she'll go to a good family and all that stuff. So yeah, we took her to the vet, and the vet examined her, and the vet said it could have been anything, like maybe like lack of oxygen during labor. She just has a minor brain damage, neuro damage. And he even said like maybe she can grow out of it, maybe she can grow strong enough to hold her head up and walk straight. Fast forward, Lilo does kind of have a little clumsiness, but I mean, it's not noticeable. All our friends say it's not noticeable unless, like, if we hadn't said anything. But obviously, like, when we told them, then they start noticing kind of her little quirks. But, I mean, she's a normal dog. She's a normal dog now. You know, she plays, she walks and heel. She barks like normal, and she gets along with a lot of our dog friends. So, yeah, after that vet visit, we brought them home, and then me and Johnny looked at each other and we're like, do we want another puppy? And then Stitch would have gone to a friend, because another friend was interested in adopting a puppy, but she ended up not adopting him, but we already had them for a couple of weeks. Yeah, she was saying how, like, is he going to get big? And I'm like, I don't know their breed. Like, based off their paws, like, they look like big breeds. So we held off taking Stitch anywhere, because that one friend was back and forth saying, like, is he going to shed? I'm like, I don't know if he's going to shed. All dogs shed, you know? At the end of the day, she ended up not wanting him, but we already had him. And then that's when me and Johnny were like, should we keep them? I kind of want to know how Lilo would live out her life in her condition. So for sure we were going to keep Lilo, because why not? I was already dog walking. I was already, you know, taking care of a bunch of dogs. Like, what's one more dog in our household? Like, it would just be a full-time client, you know? And then we ended up keeping Stitch too, because we're like, well, Lilo's going to be a big dog. We have Goomba and Charlie, and they're small dogs, and they're kind of already in the adolescent adult stage. They weren't really playing with her. Let's keep Stitch so she has a playmate. And that is how we got 4 dogs, because Lilo was special. We wanted to keep Lilo because she was special, and Stitch is her playmate. But we ended up seeing how very intelligent they are. And then after walking however many dogs, and with the experience I had walking dogs and stuff, that was the only reason why we ended up keeping them, because we would know like they would get taken care of. If it wasn't for Lilo and Stitch, I wouldn't have the knowledge of training dogs as I do now. Yeah, with them, like, it started as private clients, like walking dogs individually, going to client house, walking one dog at a time, like around their neighborhood, drop off, and then go to the next dog and the next dog. And some days I would have 10 clients. So I would start early in the morning, do client, go to another client, go to another client, 10 clients, and then I come home and it's like late at night, and then I felt like I was neglecting them because I didn't have time to walk them. So I started asking the recurring clients that I did have, hey, can I bring my dogs along because they need to get walked? Like, I have so many clients in a day, I don't get home in time to walk them. And some of my clients said, okay, why not? Like, it's, you know, why not have their dogs meet another dog and walk as a pack? So that's how I started pack walking, is I would take Lilo and Stitch and walk another dog. So that's 3 dogs. That's when I started growing confident in my skills with animals. with dogs in general. Like when I meet a new client and a new dog, some dogs are like, you know, very, very skittish around strangers. So that made me analyze and critique how I approach, you know, a brand new dog, and then how to introduce a dog to my dogs and all that good stuff. And then fast forward, like I started pack walking, and then a neighbor dog would see, oh, you're walking the neighbor dog. Can my dog join in? And then my pack would grow from just being 3 dogs, my dogs and another dog, to a neighbor dog, and that's 4 dogs. And then if a dog had a sister or brother, like 2 dogs in one household, like that's another dog. And I just started tacking on more dogs. And then slowly over time, I started asking my other private clients, hey, I'm starting to pack walk. Do you want to join in on this pack walk? And then pack walks to me was a lot more fun because then I had more dogs in my hands, and then I wouldn't spend all day driving to each house walking all these dogs, when I can just walk a good chunk and then go to maybe a couple houses and then get home before dinner. So that's how my business grew from dog walking private clients to pack walking. And actually now, starting this October, I'm changing my pack walk approach, because now that we're so in tune with the outdoors and everything, I'm going to start pack adventures where I will take the pack out to like camping grounds or BLM or like hiking areas kind of like far away from the city, so there's less people out there on weekdays, and we'll actually do like a more adventurous hike than just like some random trail at Back Bay or whatever, or at a regional park. Like, 'cause sometimes that's boring, and sometimes we run into so many different people, it's like difficult to pack walk. But like where we are now, we're out in San Bernardino mountains, and this would be a great area to have the dogs hike. And then if some dogs are good off leash, like I'll have some of the dogs run off leash, and if they have good recall, you know, because I feel like after all the experience I've had with animals and dogs, like I've noticed dogs are just so happy to just roam free. And I feel like mentally, like it just calms them, just how hiking for us humans is kind of like a stress reliever, you know. Same with dogs. Like they deal with so much stuff back home that like just walking around in nature and like getting all their sniffs in kind of just calms them. So that's what I want to provide and offer to my current clients and potentially new clients. So that's going to be the start of October, my pack adventures. And then weekends we'll be taking client dogs on camping trips and stuff. So yeah, that is the story of how we got 4 dogs. I'm going to ask Johnny a couple of questions about how he feels about owning 4 dogs, because this story was very long and I've been talking a lot. So Johnny, how do you feel owning 4 dogs?
To be honest, it's kind of a pain in the butt sometimes, but I love them all. They all have different personalities. Stitch is an asshole, but he's super intelligent. He knows how to open up baby gates, all of them, unfortunately. But he doesn't go running out of the house when we open the door, though. He knows how to sit, stay, because after you train him. Lilo's just super adorable. She likes to cuddle. She likes to be all up in your face and, you know, kissing you and everything. And Lilo follows Stitch. Gumo does her own thing, so I don't have to worry about her. But she loves to come downstairs once in a while and cuddle. But most of the time she's in the office or in the bathroom on top of her dirty clothes, just hanging out all day until I come home with French fries or any type of food. And every time she hears a bag crinkle, she'll run downstairs to get food. Mm-hmm. Charlie's just quiet because he's old. Now, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I love it. I love my life so far. You know, get to off-road with these guys. So now we just bought another rig, so you guys have to wait and see what that is. So now we can split the dogs up.
Oh, yeah. So coming October with the Pack Adventures and the camping and everything, I'm getting my own rig. I sold my Camry because I needed more space, obviously. And yeah, this new rig is going to have space to accommodate a couple extra dogs for our camping adventures and hopefully hold a good amount of dogs for my pack adventures on the weekdays. And yeah, we've been overlanding 3 years now. And just recently this year, you've been showing me a lot more hands-on stuff. And with your arm injury, like I've been doing more hands-on stuff with setting up and learning a little bit here and there. So I'm pretty confident that this new rig that I'm taking on is going to be a huge learning experience for me. But I feel comfortable going into it because of the experience I've had just being your sidekick pretty much. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to me rambling about how we ended up with 4 dogs. Again, if you want to support us, definitely share our socials with all your friends. Share this podcast with your friends. This podcast will be on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and a couple other platforms. Johnny will have it listed on his Instagram, and then also on the Canine Overland podcast Instagram. Again, we will plug in the coffee. Coffee is ko-fi.com, and it's kind of like Patreon, where our supporters like to send us money or just just to give us a little bit, just to provide us just a little monetary support, because we do enjoy doing this, but obviously our content can get a lot better with better equipment, and we can show better videos and maybe get a working second microphone so we don't have to share one microphone. But passing this microphone back and forth, this podcast wasn't too bad, so we made it work, And yeah, I mean, it may not be much, $1 to you, but to us, like it means the world, and we can't thank you enough for supporting us and just sticking around and sticking through this whole entire podcast. Like, I know it's a lot longer than our first 2, but hey, it's an episode that everyone wants to know how we ended up with 4. And hopefully the next episode we can actually get into the dirty and gritty stuff about overlanding. Yeah, so again, coffee.com/canine overland will be our page where you can send us a little bit of money, or just a one-time payment to pay for coffee, or just to see some snippets, blogs, exclusive content about our travels and whatnot. And yeah, if you guys have any questions or any topics you want us to dabble into, like, feel free to DM us or leave us a comment on our socials. Thank you guys again for listening and sticking through our 3rd episode. We will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye-bye.